Welcome to Williams Mullen's COVID-19 Comeback Plan video series. My name is Chris Skinner. I'm a partner in Williams Mullen's international practice. Today I'm going to talk about how you can help your company to mitigate exposure to import duties and in some cases obtain refunds of duties already paid under the Section 301 Supplemental Duty Program for imports from China. This has particular importance now as we're seeing a gradual uptick in import activity, which had slowed over the last few months due to COVID-19. For U.S. importers, especially those importing directly from China or sourcing from third-party companies who import on your behalf from China, your COVID-19 comeback plan should include a reassessment of exposure to supplemental duties under the Section 301 program. So over the next few minutes, I'll provide an overview and an update on what has happened in the world of Section 301, and then some concrete steps for your company to obtain relief. So Section 301 is this wonky little provision of the Trade Act of 1974 that authorizes the U.S. Trade Representative to investigate unfair trade practices by foreign countries that impact U.S. exporters. In the case of China, the administration used Section 301 as a response to long suspected unfair trade practices related to technology transfer, intellectual property protection, and innovation, and their harmful impacts on U.S. companies. The result was these lists, 5 lists in total, of Chinese products subject to additional import duties. These began in June 2018 with lists 1 through 3, which subjected an approximately $250 billion worth of Chinese imported goods to an additional 25% tariff. Now, an additional list, or actually 2 lists, list 4A and 4B, began September 1st, 2019, with an additional 7.5% tariff on goods under list 4A, which went into effect in February, and then list 4B, subject to an additional 15% tariffs, which has not yet gone into effect. Now, for each of these lists, the USTR set up a process for U.S. stakeholders to request exclusions, which are granted to particular types of products by their tariff number. This is very good news for importers. Well, exclusions are granted on a rolling basis. So even if you looked at this before, things might have changed and it might be worth another look to see where your products fall under the exclusion regimes. Another important aspect is that they apply to all products under the effective tariff heading. Even if your company didn't apply for the exclusion, you can still take advantage of the duty savings. Also, these exclusions apply retroactively. So even if you've already entered the goods and paid duties, and even if those entries have already liquidated, there may be an opportunity to go back and seek a refund of those customs duties. Another key factor is that the exclusions have time limits, but USTR is considering and granting renewals on a rolling basis, so it's well worth keeping track of those. This creates, in aggregate, an extremely complex web of 5 massive lists of products with these multiple lists of exclusions that are granted on a rolling basis and expire and get renewed. It's a lot to navigate, but for many importers, it's well worth the time. So what's happened over the past few months and where are we today? Well, many new exclusions have been granted, including in March, a tranche of exclusions that applied to personal protective equipment designed to address the COVID-19 pandemic, things like surgical masks, gloves, and gowns. Also, we now have open periods for public comment on renewing exclusions for products that are on list 2 and list 4A. What can importers do to put themselves in the best position with respect to these Section 301 tariffs? Well, first, you need to assess your duty exposure. Examine the imports that you have that are subject to Section 301 duties and determine what the rate of duty is and what the value impact is to the company overall. Determine which of those Section 301 duty lists your products fall under and where the exclusions are. If your supplier is importing your products on your behalf or incorporating those products into their goods and charging you additional fees for Section 301 tariffs, it's a good idea to pay attention to whether or not they're benefiting from exclusions as well. It is also a great time to confirm that you're classifying your products correctly and paying the appropriate duties. There may be opportunities to mitigate these duties for either avoiding Section 301 tariffs altogether for misclassification or engaging in tariff engineering, taking advantage of the first sale rule, or looking at alternate suppliers to avoid these tariffs. Next, determine if an exclusion has been granted, and if so, what is the period for that exclusion? you may be eligible for duty refunds, as I mentioned, even if these products have already been entered, you've already paid the duties. If you file a protest within 180 days of liquidation, you can still seek a refund of those duties already paid. Also, pay attention to when your exclusion expires. There may be an opportunity to file comments with USTR to seek to extend the life of those exclusions. Also, if your product is on list 4B, which has not yet been subject to additional tariffs, it's a good idea to plan now for a possible 15% supplemental tariff addition and look for that to come into play if there aren't advancements made in trade negotiations with China over the next few months. So in summary, now is an important time to assess your duty exposure under Section 301 and develop a strategy to seek to claim benefits under the exclusions. For many items, this could save your company up to 25% of additional value on the imported goods. If you need help navigating these tariffs or need guidance to determine whether your products qualify, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you for your time. Please be sure to visit williamsmullen.com for more ideas and best practices. In the coming weeks, we'll be posting a variety of resources to help your business recover during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Be well and stay safe.